Welcome from Dr. Kashif Sohail and the entire team of cricket players in America, CPA TV USA. The 1992 Cricket World Cup was the 5th edition of the tournament and was held in Australia and New Zealand from February 22 to March 25, 1992. It was a significant tournament as it marked a few notable changes in the format and rules of one-day international, ODI, cricket, which continue to influence the game even today. Format: the 1992 World Cup introduced a round-robin format with all 9 participating teams playing each other in a single league stage. Each team played a total of 8 matches, and the top 4 teams at the end of the league stage advanced to the semi-finals. The winners of the semi-finals then contested in the final to determine the champion. Participating teams: 1. Australia. 2. England. 3. India. 4. Pakistan. 5. West Indies. 6. New Zealand. 7. Sri Lanka. 8. Zimbabwe. 9. South Africa, returning to international cricket after a long ban due to apartheid. Innovations and changes. Several innovations and rule changes were introduced in this tournament that had a lasting impact on ODI cricket. 1. Colored clothing. For the first time, teams were required to wear colored clothing instead of the traditional white. This change was made to make it easier for spectators to distinguish between teams on television. 2. Day-night matches. The tournament featured day-night matches played with a white cricket ball under floodlights. This was done to attract larger TV audiences. 3. Fielding restrictions. To promote aggressive batting, power plays were introduced. In the first 15 overs of an inning, only 2 fielders were allowed outside the 30-yard circle, inner circle, while in the remaining 35 overs, 5 fielders could be positioned outside the circle. 4. Rain rule. The rain rule was implemented for the first time to adjust targets in case of interrupted matches. The rule was known as the best 11 overs rule, where the revised target was calculated based on the highest scoring 11 overs of the side batting first. Tournament highlights: Wasim Akram Magic won it for Imran Khan's cornered Tigers. Pakistan held nerve to defend 249 in gripping final and became champions of the world. In the end, it had to be Imran Khan. Pakistan's captain, leader, talisman and icon was into his 40th year and would surely never be seen again on a cricket field after that, the triumph to end all triumphs. But when, with the game out of reach for England and only pride left to fight for, Richard Illingworth launched the tired white to Ramiz Raja on the edge of the ring, it was Imran Khan, the bowler, whose upraised arms confirmed the end of a career-long quest, and the seizure of Pakistan's maiden World Cup triumph. The scorecard will say that Pakistan outlasted England to win by 22 runs, and Imran's role was fittingly front and center, in particular a captain's innings of 72 that set the agenda for everything that followed. And yet, the numbers tell only a fraction of the story of a fraught, tense encounter in which a sprinkling of magic proved the difference between the teams. The match panned out much as the 2 teams' runs to the final had done. England, the early pace setters, pushing Pakistan to the absolute brink in the opening exchanges, only for a few moments of good fortune to turn the tide and drain the energies of the men in light blue. And then, slowly out first, but then in a crescendo with bat and later with ball, Pakistan shed their inhibitions and turned to their inner tigers to finish with a roar that no opponent could have withstood. The critical moment came as the players paused for drinks after 34 overs of England's run chase. Faced with a stiff target of 250, England had been rocking at 69 for 4 but found, in Neil Fairbrother's eye for a deflected single and Alan Lamb's old-school pugnacity, a 5th wicket pairing with the requisite fight to take the game deep. Their stand had exactly doubled England's total to 138 and reeled the requirement back to a manageable 7 and over, when Imran decided it was time to turn back to his strike bowler, Wasim Akram, with license to let rip. It was a moment by which legends are born. After another new ball burst in which Wasim's consummate skill had been undermined by the degree of movement on offer, his return with an older, tamer ball wrecked the contest. With reverse swing from the outset, England were on their guard, but even knowing what was liable to come his way, Lamb had no response to a delivery from the gods, an in-swinging, out-seaming gut twister that snaked one way then the other, opening the batsman up like a can of worms before kissing past a groping edge to flick the outer half of his off stump. And if that was good in isolation, then the follow-up to Chris Lewis conferred the double whammy instant iconic status, a flip of the shiny side of the ball to unleash a howling in-swinger, one that started so wide of off-stump, Lewis might have believed it would be called as such, before hurtling back through his defenses as if caught in a gravitational pull, to smash the top of the stumps, and confirm that England's hopes were gone. Fairbrother withstood as best he could, top scoring for England with a gutsy 62, but Pakistan had too many snake-charming overs left in their repertoire for their opponents to get back on track. If there was an error in England's approach, it was their failure to take the attack sooner to the left-arm spin of Amar Sohail, who burgled his way through 10 overs for 49 in the crucial mid-innings rebuild, and allowed Pakistan to paper over the fact that, with all due respect to Imran's glorious past, they came into the game with just 3 frontline bowlers. But what a trio they proved to be. Until Akram's intercession, it seemed that Mushtaq Ahmed's outrageous googly to Graham Hick might prove to be the crowning moment of the night, but his 3 for 41 was no less critical for being upstaged. In fact, in luring the ever-dangerous Graham Gooch to his doom on the slog sweep for 29, he arguably did as much as anyone to point Pakistan towards glory. The boy-turned-man who took that catch, sprinting, stretching, sprawling at deep mid-wicket for an inspired take, was the Zepi Seymour Akib Javed, whose precociously commanding performance at the top and tail of the innings returned figures of 2 for 27 to ensure that the injured Waqar Younis was barely given a passing mention. Throw in another display of unfettered stroke play from Inzamam-ul-Haq in the latter stages of Pakistan's innings, and it's clear this triumph, Imran's overlord status notwithstanding, was a testament to Pakistan's eternal faith in youth. Imran Khan picked up the last wicket. But how they were made to battle by a team that came into the final as favourites after a supremely disciplined campaign, but who crucially lacked the same youthful spark to augment the aging giants in their lineup. With the ball, Derek Pringle produced one of the great losing performances in World Cup history, and Gooch and Lamb both had their moments with the bat. But Ian Botham's last hurrah was less of a joy. His old pro outswingers had hoovered up 15 wickets in England's run to the final, but just one belated scalp on the night. And with the bat, he suffered the ignominy of a 6th ball duck, a judge caught behind off an Akram lifter, even as umpire Aldridge was beginning his walk to square leg. Pakistan's own innings hadn't started much better. On a lively deck with juicy early movement for the seamers, their game plan had been clear from the outset. Bet at all cost, at the expense even of forward momentum, and trust their middle-order artillery to reprise the late onslaught that unseated New Zealand in Saturday's thrilling semi-final. It was a tactic fraught with risk, especially once the canny old pro Pringle had proven his fitness after missing the South Africa match with a rib injury. Manipulating the new ball like a yo-yo on its string, Pringle served up a supreme spell of wickedly intelligent medium pace, bowling 8 overs off the reel for 13 runs, with only his own size 12s breaking the spell, as he overstepped for a total of 5 no-balls, coupled with 3 wides. Pringle accounted for both openers in that first spell, Amar Sohail for 4, who flashed with flat feet at one that nipped off the deck outside off, before Ramiz Raja was pinned LBW for 8 by the Indugger, a brace of deliveries that showcased his mastery of seam position, honed in so many championship-winning seasons at Chelmsford. But at 24 for 2 in the 9th over, and with Pakistan's veteran pairing of Imran and Meandad already united at the crease, both teams knew that the game could be won and lost with the next breakthrough. Initially Meandad seemed to know it more acutely than his captain. Whereas Imran was content to plant an imperious front foot down the wicket, blocking the straight ones and leaving those outside off, his partner got off to an unusually skittish start by the standards of his formidable tournament. He might have been caught in the gully on one as Lewis bent his back in an excellent new ball spell, before scuffing a drive inches short of mid-wicket 2 balls later. And then, in the space of 2 deliveries, came a pair of let-offs will surely haunt Pringle to the end of his days. With Deasing shaped back into the right-hander's front pad, Meandad was wrapped plumb in front of the stumps, then plumber still, from an even fuller length, so taking out any doubt about the height. On both occasions umpire Bucknor shook his head, and Pringle could only flap his hands in disgust, rueing a moment lost, but confident it could yet come again. Wasim Akram and Mushtaq Ahmed celebrate after the last England wicket. PA images via Getty Images. For even with those let-offs, Pakistan were seemingly going nowhere on 34 for 2 at the 17-over drinks break. But as Imran might as well have muttered during a mid-over conflab, "Don't panic." Sure enough, the introduction of Ian Botham broke the shackles a touch, as Meandad skipped to the pitch of a drive through Meadone for 4 in an opening over that yielded 9. But it was Imran himself who had the next key let off when, on 9 from 41 balls, Phil de Freitas banged in a short ball that rushed onto a premeditated pull. Gooch at square leg, all 38 years of him, sprinted full pelt as the ball plummeted over his shoulder, but despite a valiant dive, he was unable to wrap his fingers round the chance. Whether that was the game there and then, who knows? But slowly but surely, the McGee's vast outfield began to look chock-full of scoring opportunities, as England's tiring team, already feeling the strain after a long winter campaign, began to be pulled apart at the seams. From 70 for 2 at the halfway mark of the innings, the game was still in their grasp. At 96 for 2 after 30, they were getting anxious for a wicket. And at 125 for 2 after 35, with Dermot Reed flogged from the attack with a 12-run over that brought up the 100 partnership, they were getting desperate. Beyond it, in his 5th World Cup, Dooley became the first Pakistani to score 1,000 runs at the tournament, and by the time he was finally extracted in the 40th over for 58, unfurling the reverse sweep against Illingworth where conventional mowing through the line had been serving him just fine, the arrival of the helmetless Inzamam ul-Haq, Pakistan's breakout star of the semi-final, wasn't exactly a blessing. At 163 for 3 with 10 overs in which to make merry, the stage was perfectly set for Pakistan's much-vaunted finishers. Imran knew it too. On 72, having done his bit and more, he aimed an ambitious swipe at his fellow legendary all-rounder Botham, and picked out Illingworth on the edge of long on boundary. He departed to a rich ovation, safe in the knowledge that he had risen to the occasion in what will surely now be his final farewell, and handed the reins to his other young gun, Akram. Between them, Inzamam and Akram drained England's troops of their resolve, adding 75 and 53 balls between them, with Inzamam's initial flurry of 4 fours in his first 10 balls giving way to a supporting role as Wasim took up the cudgels in the final 5 overs. He cracked 4 fours in his 18-ball 33, including a brace of venomous swipes to wreck Lewis's figures in his final over, and though Pringle returned to outfox Inzamam for a richly deserved 3rd wicket, a target of 250, 4 more than England had failed to chase in Calcutta 5 years earlier, was daunting. And by the time Pakistan had sprinkled their magic on the contest, it was overwhelming. Wasim Akram knocked over Lamb and Lewis in 2 balls. Akram's performance in the 1992 final was all the more astonishing when viewed in light of the circumstances. The 1992 World Cup final was a contest between the best team on paper, England, and the most improved side, Pakistan. Fortune swung through the game. After a circumspect start, Pakistan mustered 249 for 6 thanks to a late flurry from Wasim Akram. It wasn't the last England saw of him either. Akram sent Ian Botham packing early with a brute of a delivery, and soon after, England found themselves in a hole at 69 for 4, but Alan Lamb and Neil Fairbrother kept the score ticking at a rate of knots, adding 72 in just 14 overs, and Pakistan's hopes diminished with every passing run. Something had to give. The ball was already 34 overs old when Imran Khan tossed it back to Akram, a bowler virtually unplayable under lights, and one who had the pace to complement his vicious swing. Lamb, batting on 31, took strike to face his first ball from Akram. Bowling round the wicket, Akram thudded it in just short of a length, swinging it in at searing pace, leaving Lamb in a dilemma of whether to go back or forward. He put his foot forward to play through the line but was squared up as the ball held its line after pitching. He had barely a fraction of a second to adjust his stroke, played inside the line, and the ball crashed into the off stump. He looked back at the stumps, and then at the pitch, seemingly in disbelief. Chris Lewis was up next. Akram this time pitched it fuller, curving the ball beautifully through the air. Lewis thrust his left leg forward with a big stride across the stumps, in 2 minds whether to play or leave it. He chose the former and brought his bat down, but wasn't quite quick enough as the ball caught the inside edge and hit the top of middle stump. With 2 absolute peaches, Akram was on a hat-trick and the crowd of over 87,000 had just witnessed a work of art. Those 2 deliveries were unplayable. It was perfect reverse swing. Wasim will remember that unique spell all his life. What happened next? Dermot Reed played out the hat-trick ball but the scars were already inflicted. With few wickets in hand, Neil Fairbrother did his best, pushing the score to 180. But his dismissal took the fight out of England's chase. Pakistan wrapped up the innings for 227 and took the silverware home for the first time. Akram was deservedly named the man of the match, one of only 4 bowlers in the 1992 tournament. Pakistan emerged as the champions, defeating England in the final held at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, MCG. Imran Khan led the Pakistani team, and his leadership was instrumental in guiding his team to victory. Martin Crowe of New Zealand was the leading run scorer of the tournament, amassing 456 runs. Wasim Akram of Pakistan was the top wicket taker, taking 18 wickets during the tournament. Pakistan's win was celebrated as a historic moment, and Imran Khan's famous words "cornered tigers" became synonymous with their determined and underdog approach. The final match between Pakistan and England was a closely contested one. Pakistan successfully chased down England's target of 250 runs with 3 balls to spare, winning by 22 runs. Final standings: 1 Pakistan, champion; 2 England, runner-up; 3 New Zealand, semi-finalist; 4 South Africa, semi-finalist; 5 Australia; 6 India; 7 West Indies; 8 Sri Lanka; 9 Zimbabwe. The 1992 Cricket World Cup holds a special place in cricket history as it introduced several innovative changes that have shaped the way one-day internationals are played today. It also marked a significant victory for Pakistan, bringing immense joy to the nation and etching the tournament in the annals of cricketing lore.